Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest in our Talking TIM webinar series. My name is Kevin Vita, and I'll be helping facilitate today's webinar. This webinar is sponsored by the Federal Highway Administration and hosted by the National Operations Center of Excellence, also known as NOCO. NOCO offers a variety of resources to support the transportation systems management and operations community. Feel free to visit NOCO's website at transportationops.org for more information. I'll cover a few logistics for today's webinar. We're recording this webinar, and the recording, along with the presentation slides, will be available through the on-demand learning section of our website. All the attendees are in listen-only mode by default, but if you'd like to stay engaged by using the chat pod for comments and questions, feel free to do so. I see many people are already entering in their affiliations, and we encourage you to do so. We plan on a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, we encourage you to enter them in there at this time or anytime you think of them. So with that, I'll hand it off to our moderator and host for today, Paul Joden, to start us off.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for the NOCO, National Operations Center of Excellence, for hosting with us, great partnership we have there with NOCO. Very happy to see everybody here today. The numbers keep going up for the participants. Welcome to our first month of Talking TIM. Remember, it's the fourth Wednesday of each month, and we haven't seen you all in a while. It's been since October. We didn't have Talking TIM because we had the Crash Responder Safety Week webinar, and we didn't have one in December because of vacations and holidays and everything else. So it's been a while. We missed you. I hope you missed us. Probably not, but we hope you missed us anyway. So today's agenda is I'm going to give a few updates. By the way, my partner Jim Ostrich is not able to join us today. He has another meeting that we had to divide and conquer today. You'll be hearing from my other partner on the TIM team at Federal Highway, Joe Tebow, in a minute, in a few minutes. But today's agenda is up on the screen. We're going to have Captain Robert Hainje from the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office in Indiana. He has been with us for the Everyday Counts program for the last few years, and even before that a little bit. But he has a tremendous expertise in UAS, and we previously had him on for a UAS for crash reconstruction, but this is a whole new use of UAS today that we're going to be sharing with you. Joe's going to give you an update on what to expect with Next Generation TIM, as we were awarded an extra 2 years to continue with the title of Next Generation TIM, Technology for Saving Lives. So it's all going to be about technology, and we have some cool things we'll be sharing with you, and trying to advance the state of the practice technology wise as we move forward. And then we've had 2 other segments on the National Unified Goal. We have strategies that and feedback that we received from you. Katie Belmore, our honorable and very capable contractor, is going to share what we heard from the nation on how we modify the National Unified Goal. So with that, Katie, so big news today, everybody. Keep our fingers crossed. We don't want to jinx us, but we have had no reported fatalities so far this year. So that is big news. If you recall, last year we had 51. We just heard today that there was one that passed away a week later, responder struck bys. The year before that was 65. So yeah, last year was good. we went down to 51. So it's what, 20% or so. Maybe we're starting heading back and making some progress here. The TIM training has to help, right? It's common sense. I'm sure there are other factors that we're not aware of, but it's big news, big news. And you all, each and every one of you play a part in helping these responders in their safety. So congratulations to all of us. We can't sit on our laurels because we know, we know that there's going to be a fatality and a sad situation. But we feel we are making progress, and we feel that Tim has played a part in that. So congratulations, everybody. So the number of responders trained, we keep making progress. 630,000 responders are trained, and that's only the ones we know about. Remember, we don't get all the information. We keep hearing from this and that. Oh, I got to get my numbers in and things like that. So we're hoping that you can make sure we get the numbers. They're very important to us. They're very important to the credibility of the program and the funding that we receive. Just keep them coming in. This is our percentage map. We recently went around and did updated some states. Some states need to be updated, or we're going to update you. You can't have over 100%. That doesn't make sense. So remember, this was something the states did. We didn't establish the percentage to be trained. The states did, and some states actually made errors there. So Katie, when we want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I was going to just mention that we did get a lot of numbers from everybody, but we decided we would integrate them into the first report for 2023. So this is the last report of 2022. It went through the end of the year. So the next report will incorporate everybody's updates. And like you said, we might be following up. We're not going to allow over 100% anymore. And then we'll also be updating the goal. So you can see our goal for the end of the year was 55%, and we were really close. We made it to 54.2, but obviously we'll be establishing a new goal for the end of 2023. So.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks. And if we can't get the state to adjust it accordingly, we're going to have to adjust it ourselves. So be forewarned if you're from any of those states that need adjustment. Here's our breakdown by discipline. Law enforcement is behind fire. And for any law enforcement folks on here, we just don't want to challenge anybody, and we really hope to engage EMS more. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Joe's going to talk a little bit about that with Everyday Counts EDC-7. So here's sort of a list of last 2 weeks of December. Who had trained in those 2 weeks, who has had progress since the last report. Get your state up here. Come on, there's a couple of states that can make progress here, and let's beat Texas next month. Next reporting period, next month. So impressive to see those other states. So that's our team right there. But I think most of you know us anyway. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Captain Robert Hainje, who I already introduced a little bit. Right. Here we go.
Thanks, Jim. Just want to make sure everybody can see my screen okay.
We can, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Paul.
Or I'm sorry, Paul. So as Paul alluded to, I'm going to speak to you about some of the uses that we have with our UAS program in Indiana right now. So initially, I'd spoken with the group about how Indiana has created a crash scene mapping and data processing center through Purdue University and our Criminal Justice Institute. So in collaboration with those two agencies, we go around the state of Indiana and we provide free training to public safety agencies. During those trainings, there are a 5 to 6 hour workshop that we put on for the agencies. and we train them in hands-on field exercises. We show them how to prep a scene and marking procedures that we use as common practice in the crash reconstruction area. And then we've developed a checklist for the agencies to use. So this is a checklist that covers their scene setup as well as then their flight settings for the UASs when they put them up to capture a specific crash scene. Once the agencies capture that, we have a secure submission process where the agency can share those files collected or photos collected with Purdue University. Purdue University has created a central processing unit for us. So when I submit my crash photos to Purdue University, they will take those photographs, process them, and then give us those output back. And then that output then goes to the specific agencies through another secure file sharing. And then they receive information on how they can open the specific images and get specific information from those, such as measurements and other information. One of the other parts of the program is that when agencies send their pilots through the Part 107 training, when they take that certification exam, the processing center will reimburse that pilot or that agency for that test fee once they successfully pass that. To date, we started the program in 2020 through the Criminal Justice Institute, and with COVID, we performed 18 webinar series reaching out to about 1,250 individuals. And then during that time, we've also been able to perform 30 hands-on workshops, reaching out to about 800 participants in that. Currently, of those 800 participants, we still have just over 430 participants that are still in the program and submitting information to that. So to date, with the processing center, we've processed 325 scenes through the processing center. We have 64 participating agencies. Of those 64, 47 of those agencies have submitted images for processing, and that usually takes 2 to 3 days, depending on how many scenes are at the university level. So really, where we're looking at that whole process there is the traditional way. We're trying to get away from the traditional longer methods of total stations. So the UAS mapping really reduces that response activity and that on-scene time when we're looking at the TIM timeline. So with that, we've had opportunity to look at some work zones. So unfortunately, we had a dangerous work zone in Indiana back in the 2021 timeframe, and we looked at several crashes that happened in that geographical area. We had a bridge redecking that was occurring in that area, and kind of the geometry of that site caused us to have several fatalities and serious crashes within a short time frame. So this is one of the crashes where a semi ran off the right side of the roadway. Again, using UAS, we were able to go in there and within a 45-minute time frame, collect all the images and accurately document that scene so that we could start on the recovery process and getting the roadway open back up. Same evening as one of our incidents, we had cleaned up that incident, and a Tesla came into that construction area. It originally came in that they hydroplaned and crashed, or a vehicle fire. When we got there, we found out that the Tesla had entered that area. The navigation system got confused by the markings and struck the interior wall on that. Unfortunately, within that 2 to 3 month time frame, we had several fatalities occur in this, all involving commercial vehicles, where we shut down that roadway for an extended period of time. Again, using UAS, we were able to quickly go in and document those large scenes very quickly, and then get in there and start the recovery process and start that process of opening that roadway back up. So in using that, we obviously identified we had a problem in this area. So we went out and we flew that particular area in conjunction with the Department of Transportation, Purdue University's research program. We flew that area and mapped that scene as it was. And this is kind of a scene of how that traffic was flowing through that particular area. We had a downhill left-hand curve going into a restricted bridge area. So again, you can see how the semis in here passing very closely as they come into that restricted area. So with that information, Purdue University started looking at the connected vehicle data. They were looking at how the speeds varied in those particular areas. So they began to look at that, and then they began looking at the hard braking data. And you can see the spike in the hard braking data in that particular area when this construction project began. So Purdue sent a LiDAR vehicle through there, both using the connected vehicle data, and then we used our UAS imagery to then overlay that hard braking data. So as we know, the typical applications for lane closures and temporary restrictions or barriers for bridge redecking in those particular areas. Again, we have that, those standards that are typically used in the construction area. But what we were able to do is actually use the UAS flights to go in and document how the actual scene was, or how that area was. Through that, we were able to identify that we had narrowed lane widths that were had gone past what the restrictions were set up. And then they identified alignment geometry issues with that particular zone. So again, the redecking, NDOT got with the contractors, looked at this information, and they came up with recommendations that they implemented on December 15th for correcting some of the issues that they had identified. One of the main things that they looked at was, as that approach and transition into that bridge decking area, they realigned the traffic so that the drivers were coming into that more of a straight approach or a lessened approach in that, as opposed to the severe curve that they experienced as they came directly into that. They also improved the lane widths. They had found that the contractor had made the lane widths narrower than what had been allowed. And they corrected the lane widths to that 12-foot lane width through the curve area. They improved the lane markings, and the barrel patterns initially had been set out along the shoulder of the road. So as they looked at that, they went in and added that visual barrier, that visual cueing for the drivers, and realigned the barrels so that they followed that fog line or shoulder area more accurately into that transition. They also looked at how the exit out of that area was. So they looked at the section of bridging as they come across and then go into that downstream transition, again improving that lane width and giving the drivers more of a visual reference as they navigated through that area. We saw that the results of that, the combination of the UAV flights and the hard braking overlay data, that we had an immediate reduction in crashes, and that reduction continued through the entirety of the project. So we looked at that model and we said, well, how can we use this in our other areas? So the state has identified 6 major construction areas through the state of Indiana. And in those areas, what we've done is we've looked at the hard braking data associated with those construction sites. If they see that there's high incidence of hard braking or reduced speeds in those areas, Purdue will take this heat map data and identify those areas where we need to go out and fly. So we will go to those areas. We will fly the areas as the site is laid out, so that then they can look at the geometry of those areas, as well as overlay their hard braking data associated with that. So the red dots here indicate where there's hard braking. So as we look at, this is a transition area where it goes into a bifurcation area. And so those drivers had that decision making of whether they were going to go to the left or right. And a lot of that was occurring at the last second, as indicated. So we began to analyze that. And the nice thing about doing the UAV flights is we get an exact geometry as opposed to using a satellite image from Google or some of the other map sourcing. We're able to go in and actually fly the site as it's laid out and see where those events are occurring in relation to the true geometry of the area. So in this particular area, we had the bifurcation area. The bifurcation area then created where we had US 52 merging into I-65 and created challenges associated with that because drivers didn't have that normal transition area to where they could merge into traffic. Plus they were merging into one lane of traffic as opposed to 2 lanes as it was originally designed. So again, a good indication of where that hard braking events are occurring in those areas. Purdue University looked at the hard braking events prior to this project and bifurcation going in. So we see respectively for those areas, 143 events on one side and 77 events at that ramp transition area. But we see the huge increase in those events, and obviously they worked with the designers and crews in that area to try to improve those hard brakings and transition areas. So what we've transitioned to is we've gone from mapping the work zones and now looking at how can we use the data to look at after action reports. So with that, we're specifically looking at how can we impact the TIM timeline. So that T0 through T6 timeline. So we're starting to look at both the heat map data, how traffic is impacted by these events, as well as look at how we can improve the times and analyzing how the emergency responders are on scene. In the particular case here, we had a secondary crash that occurred just moments after the initial scene had been cleared. So that queued traffic was starting to move as they started to open up this area, and a secondary crash. So we're trying to identify if we could have opened that area up a few minutes earlier had we been able to avoid that secondary crash. So this crash was again an engine fire that took place on a truck. As you can see on the left-hand screen, that's the eastbound traffic. The initial responding agency blocked eastbound traffic to fight the westbound incident. And so we worked with them to try to identify ways that they could access those areas without contributing to traffic issues on those non-involved sides. So again, looking at the CAD or computer data from their responses, as well as the times from the Traffic Incident Management Center, as well as the heat mapping, we look at how we can use these incidents to show first responders how they can better mitigate these situations without having huge impacts on traffic flow. Again, you can see here they cleared the scene, they started to get traffic moving, and then we had the secondary crash that occurred. And as we know, those secondary crashes are oftentimes fatal or very serious in nature. And that's what happened in this situation. So again, we continue to look at that. Some of the things that we continue to work on is continue to work with the work zone assessments. We're working on the after action reviews involved with the responders. We're looking for those good cases as well as those cases where we can improve responder activities. And then Purdue University and the Department of Transportation are working to use the connected vehicle data to automatically identify those traffic slowdowns or incidents so that it then trains their cameras placed throughout those major corridors to those events so that it quickly notifies the TMCs so that they can start their automatic alerting systems. We're also working with dispatch centers to automatically provide when there's a geographical location, for example, on the interstate, that it automatically notifies the traffic management center of those incidents so that they can immediately start notifying drivers. Again, this program is piloted by the Joint Transportation Research Program through Purdue University in conjunction with the Indiana Department of Transportation.
Wow, that's awesome, Captain. That's a great presentation. And to everyone else out there, can you see how the opportunities we have with UAS moving forward? So, you know, if you have any questions in there, the captain will be with us, and we'll answer them verbally after the other presentations. But, you know, a couple of things that, you know, we identify in there, you know, having that one location, in this case, Purdue University, you're looking at the data and having that one center. Captain, just one quick question while I have you. Does that Purdue handle your crash reconstruction data as well?
Yes. So when we collect those images from the crash scenes, those images are submitted to them. They process them, in this particular case, using Pix4D to process those images, and then they will give us the point cloud results and the respective orthomosaics and other data that then we can use in our crash reconstruction to obtain those detailed measurements and information to do the full-blown reconstruction.
That's excellent. That, you know, that you having the unit, one central place that manages the data, that helps with the data, at least, seems to be certainly a solid practice with that. So thanks very much, Captain. Anyone else, if you have any questions, put them in the chat pod. We'll answer them verbally, or the captain will you know, can answer them if it's small and easy. But can you see the opportunities they are with UAS beyond crash reconstruction? That's what we want to see over the next few years. We want to expand the use of UAS. There's more and more folks that have the pilot's license, and they're gaining expertise and becoming familiar with it. So we think there's a lot to come there. So with that, I think we'll move on to our next presentation, which is my partner at Federal Highway, Mr. Joe Tebow. And we, you know, many of you are familiar with the Everyday Counts program. What it does is actually provide us with funding that we normally don't get over the next 2 years. We're one of 7 programs that were identified for the next 2 years. Katie, I'm assuming you're going to swap those slides out.
Captain Hainje, you need to stop sharing, I think.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So anyways, Joe will explain a little bit now while we're switching slides, but you know, it's a big deal for us to be able to allow it to continue. It gets us more resources for our program, and helps us help you know, the responder community and improving the state of the practice with TIM, and in this case with some technologies that we've identified. So with that, my partner in crime, Mr. Joe Tebow.
Partner in crime. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, just to you know, dovetail on a couple of the things there. Captain Hainje, you do just an outstanding job on the presentation and the actual project itself. But you can see how connected vehicles are meshing, that technology is meshing in with UAS and the overall effort. And you know, that just chasing the technology is an incredible journey for us, and that's what we're all doing. And at some point we'll bring it all together. So next generation traffic incident management, round 7, EDC-7, and we made it again. And this round is we're focusing on technology for saving lives. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. This is our standard disclaimer there. I'm sure you got that. Okay. All right. Every day counts. It's a state, as you know, most of you know, but there's some folks here that maybe it's your first time, but EDC's, as you see, it's a state-based model. And we work with the states to assist them with the different technologies that they're pursuing. It's proven but underutilized. That's the key feature. And when we take a look at the next gen TIM projects, and for EDC in general, the bullet items there to shorten the project and enhance roadway safety and traffic congestion, reduce it, integrate automation. Those are the EDC foundational blocks, if you would, and to get into EDC, it's very competitive. There are many programs that apply and get into the competitive arena for EDC. So we're very proud to make it again. The innovations facilitate, the greater communication amongst the states too. So the innovations for EDC-7, these are the 7 that were selected to participate. You see us there, number 2, next generation TIM technology for saving lives. And you can see it's kind of spread out over transportation in general, as far as the federal highway goes. But we're one of 7 out of probably dozens that competed for this. So EDC-6, EDC for you folks, it runs for a 2-year span, right? So EDC-6 technically, in theory, just wrapped up this in December last month. And EDC-6, we had 40 participating states, and these are the 4 technologies that we pursued, and those 40 states actually capitalized on and moved forward on and progressed. Some of them, remarkably progressed in their efforts to improve whatever technology they had selected there. The responder training, you can see we're over 600,000 trained now, and using TIM data. We just, Captain Hainje just touched a little bit on that, and the technology like UAS and connected vehicles, and so EDC-6 was very popular. And in the course of that 2-year span, as we kind of waded our way through it, and we learned so much about other technologies and some existing technologies that they just didn't want to see end. So that's why Next Gen TIM is going to continue. Not all of those technologies, but you'll see in a few minutes. And the technology for saving lives, kind of narrows down just a little bit more into the safety arena. We had, just as I said, overwhelming interest in EDC-6 in the technology realm. They created many opportunities for the folks who participated and continue to do so, because TIM is, continues to impact every responder every day. I say it all the time, traffic incident management saves lives every single time. Every single time it's used, it's saving lives. So we also have this opportunity to step into the NRSS, or the National Roadway Safety Strategy, in post-crash care. And I'll talk about that in a few seconds also. So we're looking at the technologies, but we're also this one with the post-crash care for EMS. It kind of narrows in on one particular discipline of the TIM responders. So here are the technologies for saving lives in EDC-7. UAS for traffic incident management. Captain Hainje, just gave a great example. And what you see there And I'm not sure if the good captain's still on, but if you can use free flying UAS, you can use drone UAS. It's just the popularity and uses for UAS are just abundant, and we're pursuing them as well as you are too. The debris removal, that's another fantastic thing to keep mostly DOTs, state safety service patrols, but it keeps their operators safe, keeps them in the cab while they can still remove debris. And there's multiple variations of those devices out there. Lightings and markings, we'll be looking at that, emergency vehicle lightings and markings, because today's technology of synchronized lighting, of auto dim lighting, scene lighting, and even the reflective markings sometimes. What we don't want is to be blinding oncoming drivers as they're trying to get past our incident scene. So, we're going to be taking a look at that. The technology is advancing. And then we're looking at the advanced warning systems that are starting to pop up out there, and that are DOTs mainly, but not exclusively, are setting up good advanced warning way upstream in order to allow drivers to make the right decisions, make the right moves, plenty of time to merge over, get over, slow down. All right. So, but the different methods and the technologies that are out there, we're going to be taking a look at that. Emergency vehicle signal preemption. And we just had a very interesting meeting yesterday about it, but it's an emergency technology. And when we look at it, especially, EMS, fire, law enforcement, if when you're rolling towards your job that you've been sent to, and every single traffic light you come to is green in your favor, that backs your response time down, gets you there quicker, gets help to the scene quicker, and can even contribute to shrinking that TIM timeline. So we're going to take a look at that technology, because it has advanced incredibly, even over the last 20 years or more that it's been around. And then EMS post-crash care, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to take a look at what we can do for the EMS service, because more often than not, they're the first on the scene. They don't have heavy apparatus to block for them. They have smaller vehicles. There's less of them. So we're going to look at the technologies that can help those folks out when they may be the first responders on the scene from a group of disciplines that are en route. So that all falls into National Roadway Safety Strategy in the post-crash care. So these are the technologies that we're looking at in EDC-7. And, we want to encourage you to participate, because the virtual summit is coming up February 14th through 16th, as you can see, from 1 to 6:30. We're going to have some breakout sessions on Tuesday on Valentine's Day. Bring your sweetheart. And from 2 to 3:30 and 5 to 6:30, there's the link for registration. If you haven't registered yet, please do. So we'll have some fantastic discussions, I'm sure, in the breakout sessions. And you learn from others, great peer discussions and informational exchange, connections. It's all there for us. So on the 14th, office hours, we'll be there. We'll address questions and share information that we have with you. And then the 15th, advanced warning technologies from 2:30 to 4. Once again, usually an open type discussion, questions and answers, people sharing what they've done. And then the 16th, we're going to do post-crash care roundtable from 2 to 3. And then once again, kind of an open forum from 3 to 3:30. So we really do encourage you to jump on and join us as we talk EDC-7 and technologies for saving lives. Well, here is our promotional video. Katie's in control. Yeah, we do a promotional video to encourage folks to come on in and see us, to join EDC-7. And so, yeah, there we are again. So go ahead, Katie. I don't know if you're rolling it yet or not. Turn your volume up.
So Tebow here, Federal Highway Administration's Office of Operations Traffic Incident Management Program. Welcome to Everyday Council, round 7. This go round, traffic incident management, we're pursuing technologies for saving lives. What are those technologies? Smart emergency vehicle lighting. There's no reason why drivers should be blinded by emergency devices in emergency incident. The free removal devices, departments of transportation will come up with devices that allow their operators to stay inside the cab, yet still remove debris from our roadways. That keeps them extra safe. We're looking at unmanned aerial systems or drones. We're monitoring the queue upstream, monitoring our scene as it's happening. We'll even use it for training purposes. We're looking at post-crash care for emergency medical services personnel. Way often, they're first on the scene. They don't have any heavy apparatus to block for them. We're going to look at technologies to help keep them safe while they're there. Advanced queue boarding devices, trucks, vehicles that are being positioned upstream of the incident that allow drivers to make the right decisions and the right choices, slow down before they get to us. We're looking at responder to vehicle alerts. That technology is just taking off, where drivers are alerted sometimes miles ahead of time that there's an incident up ahead. Gives them an opportunity to get off or slow down, move over. We're also looking at traffic signal preemption because that technology allows first responders, as they approach traffic signals, to have the green light in their favor at every single intersection. So all those technologies combined with everything we've already put in place should enhance the safety of first responders. So won't you join us at EDC-7 as we take a look at technologies for saving lives? I'll see you there. Thanks for coming.
Well, I can only hope your bandwidth was
Know that
better.
air pollution and greenhouse gases.
Okay. Well, with that, I do believe that I pass it back to you, Paul.
Yeah, I think that's, I always have something to say. So I'll just add it here, we're very excited. We want, the summits. So just so you know, the summits are a part of a larger event. For all, I guess that's the 14th is a safety focused, with two out of the 7 innovations are focused on that first day on the 14th, and then I think the construction related and then workforce related are on the subsequent days, but we're still participating. They have these virtual booths and virtual breakout sessions and things like that. And the one that Joe mentioned, post-crash care, we're going to invite we have invited some EMS people to be on a panel and discuss what we can do to help the EMS community. And one of those things is to increase engagement with the EMS community, right? There, I manage the TIM team back in Massachusetts, and I'm familiar with many others. Are we engaging the EMS community to help them get to the scene, right? We all know about the golden hour, right? That first hour is critical when someone gets injured. So what can we do to help with that golden hour? And single preemption for emergency vehicles is just one of those things. But what are the other things that EMS can know? So increase that communication, both before an event hits, or if there's some other way to enhance that. So that's what we're looking at. So thanks, Joe. And as you can see, Joe, is a tremendous presenter. But that Joe is the real deal. He's been a firefighter for 44 years as a volunteer, but he's a volunteer in a very busy community in Baltimore that is as active as a full-time community. So he's boots on the ground with knowledge. And the picture that you see that he was taken there, by the way, is his own fire truck. He has it in his driveway, and he actually, it turns out to be very helpful to us when we need a video. So, just so you guys understand that he is definitely the real deal here. So with that, we move on to our NUG discussion. I see some comments here, and we'll address those after we talk about the NUG here, the National Unified Goal for traffic incident management. And many of you know our esteemed contractor. She's becoming a national TIM legend. All joking aside, she is, tremendous support to our team on TIM training and many other TIM related activities that you're not aware of. I just want to thank you in front of everybody, Katie. It won't happen again. How much we appreciate all that you do to make us look good. So with that, I'll be quiet and let you take it.
Thank you, Paul. So like Paul said, we just wanted to spend a little time today. Really, this is the third of 3 presentations talking about the National Unified Goal for TIM and our efforts over the last 6 months now to update that. So today we're really going to focus on the strategies, but the last time we talked about this was back in August. So I thought it would be helpful if we at least gave everybody a quick overview of where we are and where we're going. So for those of you that aren't aware, the original National Unified Goal, or NUG for TIM, was responder safety, safe, quick clearance, and prompt, reliable, interoperable communications. And that's been around since I want to say 2005. So, and we thought it was time to take a look at it, and we did get people's input through Talking TIM and some other channels, and we decided we wanted to revise the goal. It's minimal changes, but it's a little bit different. So we wanted to update it to that the TIM NUG is a commitment. So we made sure we added that commitment word at the beginning. And then we expanded the second one to be the safety of responders and all road users. So we expanded that to include all road users. The second one we kept the same. The feedback we got was that was a good solid goal. So we kept safe, quick clearance. And then the last one we just simplified a little bit, and we went back to the 3 C's, and we went with communication, coordination, and cooperation. So our first question and our first round of requesting your guys' input was really to get to this spot where we are here. And then at the second time we presented, we looked at the NUG framework itself. So there were the 3 objectives that we just talked about. And then there were a total of 18 strategies to support that goal. And so on the second meeting, we really focused on the 6 cross-cutting strategies that were previously identified. And so the original strategies are here in black. And then we made some minor updates that we were suggesting, and you can kind of see that in blue. So the first one we expanded to be TIM partnerships and programs, or we were asking input on this one. And then we also wanted some input on the third one, talking about goals and performance, and do we want to also kind of focus on data collection, analysis, and reporting. So we did a Mentimeter for that, and I just have the results to share with you guys real quick. So for that first cross-cutting strategy, we had a couple suggestions, one being let's just keep it the same, TIM partnerships and programs, or do we also want to add the word coalition in there and have that be part of it? So ultimately we went with this second one because we had a higher voting there, and we just added, we're talking about those coalitions, and that's the phrase we've been using, committees, task force, there's a lot of things people call it. We've just kind of chosen to use the word coalition. And then the second question we asked was about that strategy 3, which was originally goals for performance and progress. And then we said, do we want to replace that with data collection, analysis, and reporting, or should we just keep both? Should we highlight the need to set goals and then also to get the data to support them and do analysis and reporting? And so overwhelming, everybody thought, let's go ahead and add that. So that's what you saw there. And then we had just done a little bit of a word cloud asking for people what they thought might be missing from the cross-cutting strategies. And in a second, we'll get to how we integrated that into the cross-cutting strategies. So as I mentioned before, in addition to those 6 cross-cutting strategies, there were 12 additional strategies that were broken down by the old objectives. And you can see here, they were pretty specific, talking about things like the move over or slow down law, talking about awareness. For safe put clearance, we were talking about procedures, response and clearance time goals, making sure that resources were available 24/7. And then for prompt, reliable, interoperable communications, we got very specific in some of these, talking about the different networks and broadband and emergency communication systems. So these are some pretty detailed strategies. So what we wanted to ask everybody today and talk about was really looking at, do we need to maintain those specific strategies, or can we update and enhance the cross-cutting strategies to make sure that everything is incorporated, and then have a more succinct list of strategies. So I'm going to just quickly kind of go through, so you can see up here where we had already integrated the coalitions, and then we added this fourth one, right? We kept the goals for performance and progress, and then we added data collection, analysis, and reporting. So we already made those changes. And then some of the additional changes we're proposing are in orange. And so really what we looked at, for example, recommended practices for responder safety, we really think that ends up being covered by this overarching goal of having multidisciplinary TIM practices, policies, and procedures. So rather than call that out under each objective, we thought that could probably just be one of the cross-cutting strategies. And then the one that we added to the list down here at the bottom is, we were specifically talking about move over laws in the past. And really, we think we shouldn't be so specific, right? It's just as important to promote driver removal, authority removal legislation as well. So as a cross-cutting one, we thought we could just add expansion and enforcement of TIM laws in general, rather than specifically talking about move over laws. And then talking about driver training and awareness, again, we think that can just be incorporated into number 7, which is existing, with adding the word outreach, talking about awareness, outreach, and education partnerships. So that's how we were trying to integrate the objectives specific to responder safety into the cross-cutting. And I'm just going to go through a couple more. We did the same thing. We really looked at these objectives for safe put clearance, and it's the same thing. 10 is really already covered. If you look at 6, where we're talking about those multidisciplinary procedures, response and clearance time goals, really that probably already falls under goals for performance and progress, and is measured through number 4. And then 24/7 availability, again, really specific, that we didn't feel that necessarily had to be called out on its own. And we went through that similar thing looking at the last 6 objectives that were related to communications. And a lot of it all goes back to having those practices, policies, and procedures in place. So again, ultimately, we thought we could replace all of these other 12 objectives just by having a little bit of an expansion, and again, being more succinct and having these 8 strategies that we could focus on. So what we'd like to do next is get everybody's input into whether or not, how they think that would work. So we have a Mentimeter set up. And so you can either go to menti.com, or I also have put in the chat, there's a direct link. And then I'm just going to share my other screen real quick. So this is the first question. Again, we'll give people just a quick second to, oops, sorry. I am sharing the wrong screen, so I'm just going to share the results with you guys instead of the questions themselves. So the question again, we're asking, again, what do you guys think? Should we go ahead and streamline and keep that expanded list of strategies? So it would be the 8 that we were just looking at. Should we maintain some of those goal specific ones in addition to the cross-cutting? And then we recognize that there's plenty of people out there that this may be the first time you're looking at the NUG, and there's certainly nothing wrong with just not voting this time. So I know we have quite a few people out there, so I'd love to see us get at least up over 50, maybe even 60 with everybody's input.
Let's go, everybody. It's easy. Click on the link and put the number in that Katie had to the number up top of your screen. Don't be like me and be lazy about it. Thanks very much. There go those numbers. There we go. We appreciate. We want to say that you took part in adjusting the NUG, and so you took and taking part in this national goal. So keep there's other questions, a couple more questions coming. So if you can let's go. Connect. Participate. Sorry, Katie.
No, that's great. That's great. So I'm just going to give it another 15 seconds. We're kind of neck and neck. We're seeing both some support for streamlining it and some that would like to see that us keep those state specific, or I'm sorry, goal specific strategies. All right, so let's go ahead and then move to the second. Sorry. All right, so now we just have a really simple question of, are there strategies that we were looking at that are missing that you think you guys would like to see added? And this is just a word cloud for people to add information to. So. Share what we're looking at, what we're seeing from people. So, and I appreciate everybody's feedback. Again, it means a lot more when we have a lot of people getting input into that. So thank you guys. And we have been focusing, I know Joe just talked about that, and looking in EDC-7 and making sure that we're focusing in on and highlighting our relationships with EMS. So I think that's a great comment to look at a way that maybe we integrate that in as well. Something about all of the partnerships. That's another one. We did put this together before we really started focusing on the National Roadway Safety and Strategy. So that's another great suggestion. Thank you guys. All right, and that'll stay open. So, as you're thinking through things, please go ahead and type it in there. And then also, we just have one other question we're going to ask in a second, but feel free to use the chat pod if you think of something after we close the Mentimeter. So. All right, Paul, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the NUG itself before we go on to the next question?
No, I just, I think we are going to start using the NUG more, maybe even kick off these webinars with the National Unified Goal at the very least. Don't need to go through the strategies every time, but we encourage you to use it. It was popular years ago, and to some it's still being used. I don't know that it's used, so we do think it has a place as we try to quote unquote sell our program and sell traffic incident management. So it's the only really thing. We're going to take all this information under advisement, right, Katie, and then make a decision. But no, I think suggest not using the NUG, Mr. Jack Sullivan suggested. So, boy, everyone's been calling it the NUG for so many years, Jack. That's the only thing. And I hate to Google it. Okay, we'll Google it, but so many people just refer to it the NUG.
Well, and I think that there's also some discussion is, once we solidify this, taking a look at some of the things like the TIM self-assessment, and just making sure we're consistent and asking about the same things and using the same terminology throughout. So that'll help with it as well, I think.
Yeah. It's hard. I just want to. Jack wants us to change, and it's awful hard to change, but we will definitely start doing that, Jack.
All right. So switching gears a little bit, and thank you everybody again. We really appreciate your participation and giving us this input. We did want to just follow up with one more question. So I think hopefully everybody is aware that Crash Responder Safety Week is the second week in November. And a big part of that is requesting that the states put out a proclamation. So what you can see here is we have the map showing the states that we know did a proclamation, and then the ones in blue are the ones where we received a copy of the proclamation, and then the states in yellow are ones that we were pretty sure were planning to do a proclamation. And I think what Jim is looking for is just confirmation that that those states did it, and then a copy of the proclamation. So and then anybody we're missing, we would love to know that you guys did that, and we'd love to have copies, and that's all information that will help, looking at 2023. So we just have another quick opportunity for, if your state was successful in getting that governor's proclamation, please enter your state in your email. And if you have a copy of that proclamation, Jim would love to get his hands on that. So Vishali, did I miss anything there?
No, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so please, and same thing, if it's easier to put it into the chat, feel free to do it there as well. So.
And for Tony, thank you so much. We did see the news article for the Minnesota Governor's Proclamation, but we couldn't find a physical PDF copy of that proclamation. So if you could share that with us, that would be great.
All right. With that, I think I'll turn it back to you, Paul. And I think we have some questions and some follow-up for the multiple presentations in the chat.
Yeah, we have some questions, and Yeah, Kathleen Hart, we'd love to, we'd love to share. We have a template that the proclamations, right, we're following very shyly, I think. So we can do that for sure. I'm going to go up and answer some of these questions, and then I would like to know if we can unmute Mr. Jack Sullivan to get more of his thoughts on how we can approach this NUG, replacing the acronym NUG with something else. So I don't know if we can do that, Kevin, or not, but let's see what we have here. Cross communication for all agencies. Yeah, that's been a big deal, Kathleen, to for all of us for a long time. We've been pushing that idea. Where was it? I think, and Kathleen, you had a question on EMS part of the program. Were you talking about the Federal Highway TIM program or I think it was during the Indiana presentation. So I'm not sure what you were exactly what you're referring to. Just let us know maybe in the thing, in the chat pod. So the slides are every, this webinar is recorded and the slides are available. It just takes the National Operations Center of Excellence a week or two to get it posted on the site. What else do we have here? We would encourage, I think there was a few comments here about, we in the TIM community have been pushing for a long time to get construction, to engage the responder community. We've seen it more than once that they just to find out when it's too late that they should have engaged, and there's no easy access or no real mitigation plan in a construction zone and things like that. So, if you know of a construction zone that's going in, recommend that you sort of raise your hand and say what we can do about that. So, don't see any other questions
Hey,
here.
Paul,
Yes.
Hey, Paul, can I jump in? Is this question still valid? I can't see that it's been answered, but from Neil Moran's, and it's I don't know off the top of my head, maybe you do. How many states have traffic incident management as part of their state law enforcement academy?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Many though. Remember there's many many academies, right? There's a state police academy, and then there's multiple law enforcement academies in each state. But as far as the state police are concerned, I don't know. I'm guessing at least half. That would be a Jim question, but he's not here today. But yeah, there's quite a few that are are using it at the state police level.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Jim is always trying to make sure that we have all of that data. And
Yeah.
I think if he was here, he would take the opportunity to point out, in Louisiana, that was one of the places where they did make it required, and we weren't getting all of that data, right? So I think some people noticed about 2 or 3 months ago, we had a big jump. It was over 10,000 people had been trained because everybody going through the academy for the last 5 years had got it, and we didn't even know about it. So we're always encourage, one to do it and then make sure we're getting that information. So
yeah, I know just off the top of my head, I know California, Oregon, Washington State. Off the top of my head, I'm looking at a map. I think pretty sure Texas. I know Colorado for sure. Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, I think, Maryland, Massachusetts, I know, Pennsylvania, I'm not sure about, but Michigan, Wisconsin, I think I know, but yeah, there's a lot there. So
there was one other question I saw in there I wanted to answer. I know it was a private question and then it got asked again just about the status of the training materials. So I just say we're still waiting for them to make it through FHWA's public affairs a review and approval process. It's there, they're looking at it. we're really hopeful that we'll be able to get that out. I'm thinking more so this spring, and have it available for everybody. So,
And Katie, there's a question about sharing governor's proclamation examples. There are 2 places where the 2021 proclamations, there were 12 states that were successful in securing a proclamation in 2021. And there's a PDF that can be downloaded from the NOCO Crash Responder Safety Week site. So if you click on that, and I can put the site in the chat, give me 1 second. And you can download it so you could see what, at least in 2021, different states used. And we'll update that to include the 2022 PDF once we get the set of proclamations. And so you just, if you scroll down a little bit to see our SW resources, how to obtain a governor's proclamation, you can see all the proclamations from 2020 and from 2021.
Great, thanks, Shelley. Glad you caught that. Great.
Hey, Paul, I think Jack's mic is open.
Oh, yeah, well, it's always nice to hear from Jack. So I know you have something in mind, Jack. So you want to share a little bit more on that topic about the NUG?
It brings back memories, Paul, of our meeting out in California to develop the NUG originally.
Yeah.
And a lot of the conversation that went on at that point, we've come a long way, obviously. I'll tell you though, in doing training classes over the last 20 years, the younger generation, when they're in class, likes to Google things. And if you use the term NUG, they find more things about cannabis than they do traffic incident management. So while the idea is great and I approve of the National Unified Goal, I would suggest that we not use that acronym going forward.
Just say it out. National Unified Goal. Here it is.
Yeah, or we come up with a different terminology for it or whatever.
Yeah. Have you thought about that part of it, the different terminology or a different acronym? Or?
No, but I would be glad to do that and pass along my thoughts.
Okay, well, we always appreciate your thoughts, Jack. Always good. Okay.
Hey, I see one last question here from Shane Coleman. Is there a plan for utilizing UAS for advanced warning applications? And my response is I'm sure it's being done. I know that it's being done. But right now, is there a plan for federal highway? I think I'm safe at saying no, right, Paul? But as we pursue this through EDC-7, right, things will start to unfold, I believe.
Yeah. So just so that everyone's clear, we don't deploy anything at the Federal Highway TIM program, right? We're not out there boots on the ground. We would love to learn about someone that actually does that, that coordinates that advance, because we did talk about that at a workshop just last week. Was it last week? And boy, that would be great, because you know how you have to, that advanced warning, protecting the queue. Sometimes people do it just by rotating vehicles in and out. The queue is constantly moving and going back and forth. So I think that would be, that would be a great use of multiple technologies. So good thought. Captain Hainje, have your hand up.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been trying to do is our reconstruction teams work the scenes with the UAS. Is we'll fly the scene and then we will actually put the UAV up and monitor traffic. One of the things that we're looking at is how we can apply tethered drones to either emergency vehicles or to the safety patrol vehicles. So when they are working an incident, they can put that UAV up to 150 feet and monitor the queue and traffic that way. And we've had good success in making some adjustments into our traffic direction, looking from that bird's eye view.
Oh, that's great input, Captain. And if I'm not mistaken, Indiana has even more protect the queue activities, right? Don't they have vehicles out there? For some reason, I think they have they have a whole protect the queue operation that's in play when they have the staff available.
Yes, so as part of our construction projects, they've made it part of the contract where the construction company has to provide a queue warning vehicle. That vehicle is on duty while they're actively working in that construction zone if they have queue buildup. And then that's also tied into a vehicle alerting system. So as the drivers enter kind of that geo-fenced area, then they will receive an alert that there's queued traffic and or a queue warning truck there. And they've been very successful with reducing the number of incidents and reducing not only the number of crashes, but the number of queued crashes associated with that. And that's been a very successful program that you can look up under Purdue's Joint Transportation Research Program. They've got a link for that.
Excellent. Thanks, Captain. Yeah, we know Tennessee, right, has had a protect the queue program. I know in that after a few years that the data came out and that there was a significant reduction in secondary crashes, I believe, when they started implementing that down there in Tennessee. So thanks for that, John. Russell, that's a good one. Well, let's consider that. UT, what was it? UTG, right? So my friend from Rhode Island here. Yeah. So anything else on the panel? Any other thoughts? Okay. So with that, we don't want to just keep talking for the sake of talking, so we won't do that. But we're really, we didn't provide you with next month's Talking Tim agenda yet because we're not totally set on it. But we are going to make sure we have we have one on. We did a research project on sources of struck by data. We had a workshop and there's a report, and we're hoping to report on that. And then upcoming months, there was also some research on the move over law, compliance, and some another research project on technology. The one on data, I think, is going to be next month, and I think we're going to chase down one of these presentation on the people that have made a fire vehicle. Joe, it was that in Texas there. An example of people that have retrofitted these old fire engines and made it into a blocking vehicle. Joe?
Yeah, Grand Prairie, Texas is one that comes to mind. Is it Carrollton or New Carrollton, Texas, that has the tractor drawn, the long one that you can extend and has a cutout. I actually believe that was struck by a driver when its maiden assignment. So, it did its job right there. But yeah, there's a lot of creativity to, instead of just auctioning off an old fire truck, just retrofit it, fill the water tank with sand or something else that gives it a little bit of weight and a little bit more weight. And yeah.
And I think one of them was filled with water, which can also address the issue that we're having with, electric vehicles and the battery fires. You need copious amounts of water. And so maybe that will help with that. I think one of them was considering that as well.
Creativity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. David McDonald gave us those, so we'll reach out for those. David, maybe we can get one on next month. And we are trying to be as exciting as we can. Sometimes we better on top of the topics than other months, but we really appreciate everyone, and please share with folks out there the Talking Tim announcement. We would really like to get our numbers up. We have a lot of good information we think we're sharing. So with that, we will close it out, and you can have 10 minutes back to your day, and see you next month, or most of you will be talking to you this sooner than that anyway. So thanks again. Happy New Year. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, everyone.